This fight video is powered by Manscaped. And they just released their 4th generation performance package, the Lawnmower 4.0. You've heard of the 3.0, some of you might even got it. I'm afraid you're last generation now. This is the new shit right here. This is the one we all want. This 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. That's not all they've sent us, the boxer shorts, and of course, the anti-chafing ball deodorant. Lord knows some of you out there really need this because, damn, you stinky bastards. Feel great in your own skin and fuel your own expression of masculinity. Oh, that'll trigger some of you out there. Well, men need to feel good too sometimes, and that's what Manscaped is all about. Get 20% off when you go to manscaped.com/true. The link is in the description below. Welcome back to the True Geordie Extra channel, fresh off the back of one hell of a fucking weekend in boxing. Oleksandyr Usyk dethroned Anthony Joshua in pretty comfortable fashion. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that's exactly how I thought it was going to go. Put my money on it. Actually put my money on a decision. Thank fuck I didn't go for a late finish because I was torn. And as you seen at the end of the fight, it really could have 30 more seconds and AJ was going to go to sleep, if I'm honest. But I want to give credit to Anthony Joshua because people, I think, get my criticism of Joshua mixed up with hate or anything like that. I think he's a fucking class bloke. And I've actually grown to appreciate what he's done for this country in terms of bringing huge events here, paying all those boxers on his cards consistently. He has been a huge part of boxing, and actually, he's been a great champion. Like, when you compare his behaviour to some of the other champions out there's behaviour, he has been a model professional. And outside of things out of his control, like the Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury fight, he's fought everyone who wanted it, and he's beaten them all. You know what I mean? And the guy is just an upstanding professional and a good guy. You can see that, you know what I mean? He carries himself like a champ. It's going to be a tough one for him, this, because I think there's just so many levels between his ability and Usyk. And that's why I picked Usyk. Obviously, I interviewed Tony Bellew last week, and Bellew was singing the praises of AJ and Usyk. But he thought AJ'd get there in the end. And my point to him was, you know, I didn't want to say it mid-interview, I think you're wrong, but because he's the expert. So, you know, you've got to give the expert the time to say what they got to say, and that's the point of being an interviewer. But I did point out, Anthony Joshua's 2 biggest weaknesses are his brain and his stamina. I'm not saying he's a dumb boxer, because he's certainly not, but his boxing IQ is not, in my opinion, on the level of a Usyk or a Tyson Fury, and nor is his stamina. And we've seen that when he's been exposed in the past, because in many, many fights, he's had those moments where he lets people back into the fight, or he makes mistakes where you think a better boxer against you will capitalize on that. And even Pulev, you know, he tried to get him out of there, needed a few rounds, and it dragged on so much longer than what it should have done. So I've been seeing these weaknesses for a while, but I am kind of sad he's lost the title, because it's much better for British boxing if it's Tyson Fury versus AJ for all the belts. And I liked having him as the champ. He suits it, you know what I mean? He is a great champ. But the bottom line is the best man won on the night. Now, a lot of people expected AJ to win, and obviously they're questioning, how did this happen? AJ didn't look himself, or the tactics were wrong, and etc., etc. And maybe there's some truth in that. Maybe AJ wasn't himself. Maybe he was ill, or whatever. But in my opinion, I disagree. Tony Bellew told us on the podcast, he literally watched AJ in his last session before the fight, said he went 12 rounds, looked amazing, and it convinced Tony Bellew, even after Tony Bellew had been finished by Usyk, that AJ is going to do it, you know? So I think he was in prime condition. I think that weight is probably his optimal weight. He's fit, he's fast, he's strong, you know, he still couldn't get the job done. I think a lot of this is down to what Usyk did. You know, we've seen AJ against a Pulev, for example. He gets the measure of them after a few rounds, unloads, and almost gets you out of there. If not, he does get you out of there. And if he doesn't, he knows Pulev ain't good enough to hurt him when he's a bit tired after that. You can take a few rounds off, get his stamina back, and then get him out of there. This is not Pulev. And that is why you can't do that. You can't wait and give rounds away against Usyk in the hope that you're going to catch the knockout. And I don't think that was the plan, but, you know, that's the usual AJ plan. You can't take 3 rounds off afterwards. You can't expend that kind of energy early in the fight and just think, it'll be fine. You can't do that. And also, you're not going towards a stationary target who is going to allow you to catch them so soon. Usyk never stopped fucking moving. His head, his legs, everything. And AJ is not used to anyone at his weight performing like that. It's just, that is a brand new thing against the southpaw who is slipping every jab you throw, is catching you, is touching you constantly. All of this was a completely new world for Anthony Joshua. Kind of like the way Tyson Fury mesmerized and hypnotized Klitschko. That was basically what happened to AJ. He was in there with someone who was showing him angles and speed and stamina and upping the level, slowing it down, upping it again. It was worse than what Tyson Fury did to Klitschko, because Fury, while he made Klitschko, you know, bamboozled him, he didn't hurt him. Usyk hurt AJ. Usyk was battering him by the end of this fight. If this had gone one more round, AJ would have eventually just went to sleep. And I'm not saying that to piss people off. I know there's AJ fans out there probably are hating on what I'm saying. It's the fucking truth, man. And I put a couple of £100 on a Usyk decision win because to me it was staring me in the face. You've got a great boxer who's a very good athlete against a great athlete who's a very good boxer in a boxing competition. It just made sense to me. And I don't think you're stupid if you thought AJ would win, because fuck me, the guy's a killer. He's a great fighter, but I always pick the best boxer when it comes to something like this. The problem now, I don't see a way for AJ to get these belts back. Genuinely, I think they're gone for good. I think AJ's title reign is officially over, because the last time when he lost the fight, there was an easy plan B where you were like, okay, you fucked up, you underestimated the guy, little fat Mexican, you can keep him at bay, jab his head off and get the fuck out of there with a quite comfortable decision win. Easy. Outbox him. What's the fucking plan B against Usyk? Bearing in mind, Usyk was the cruiserweight champion of the world and is consistent. He ain't gonna come in the next fight 30 pounds overweight again when he fucking Ruiz was already a fat fuck, no offense, you know, but it's true. The bro came to the fucking ring eating a Mars bar. You know, he wasn't prepared for that fight against AJ. We know Usyk is coming sharp as a fucking blade. One idea is you don't box a boxer. And yeah, that is true. Like AJ basically tried to hold the center, get behind his jab, and Usyk just walked straight through it and found it easy. You're going to have to fight him. I don't see how that's going to work out well either. Right now, with how easy Usyk slipped so many of AJ's punches, and when AJ did catch him, he took the punch as well, because AJ had to come down in weight in order to maintain that fitness to actually be fast enough to catch Usyk. And guess what? Usyk was still too quick for him. So he's got to stay at that weight. If he put weight on and went for broke and came in massive and just tried to catch him with one of those big heavyweight punches, maybe that might work. If he tried to wrestle him, Usyk got wrestled by Chisora, who in my opinion, Chisora doesn't hit as hard as AJ, but he's a stronger man in the clinch than AJ. That's just my opinion. You know, you go for broke, you might catch him. If you don't catch him, you are fucked, because you're going to tire even quicker than last time. So you probably have to come in at 17 stone again. And in which case, Usyk is still quicker than you. I don't see any way back, genuinely, for Anthony Joshua, unless Tyson Fury beats Usyk and AJ somehow has Fury's number, which... not after that fight, not in my opinion. I mean, I've been saying it after the Pulev fight. Anthony Joshua's strategy of going balls out, recovering, and then getting you out of there later in the fight won't work against someone who's a better boxer than you, fitter than you, and can take your power. And both Fury and Usyk have that. When you look at what Bellew did against Usyk, he drew Usyk in, he let Usyk be the aggressor, and then he sneakily snuck punches in, he disguised them, he laid traps. Bellew is a better technical boxer than Anthony Joshua. Clearly, by the way. Like, it's not even close. I'm not saying AJ isn't good. He's just not the same. Bellew's slick. He's got some tricks up his sleeve. AJ is a lot more straightforward. Like Klitschko, which is why Fury did to Klitschko what Usyk was able to do to AJ. It's the same thing. There's levels, man. I'll give AJ credit. Like, he did show some good skill and quality in there. I'm not saying he's a bad boxer. Again, the guy had patience. I think he was trying to do a little bit of a Canelo game plan in that, giving up a couple of rounds and accepting that and going for a kill. The kill never came because Usyk was just way better than what he thought. And Usyk played the strategy fantastically in that he came out and made sure he got a lot of rounds in the bank early on. And he knew he could afford a little bit of a lull in the middle, gave a couple of rounds, maybe 2-3 rounds to AJ, and then finished strong as fuck. The only reason I was worried was that they'd rob him of the decision. Genuinely, I said it on the stream, but Usyk made it undeniable. You know, AJ didn't even end the fight and hold his hands up and pretend like he won. The guy was on the stool. He couldn't get off the stool for minutes. Usyk was in the middle of the ring. He knew he'd won. The energy management of Usyk, like when AJ, he won one round in the middle of the fight. I can't remember, it was the 6th or the 7th. And I was like, oh, maybe AJ is going to start building into the fight here and coming on strong later. It was clear that once Usyk realized, all right, I'm probably not winning this round right now. He just managed the round out perfectly well, came back, rejuvenated, re-energized, and made sure he smashed it in the next round. Like, the fight management, the IQ that he's on is just something I don't think AJ can catch. And I think when you look at Eddie Hearn's reaction, it told a massive story, because a fighter is always going to believe he can win a rematch and I'll go away, I'll hustle, as AJ said, and I'm sure he will, and he'll work his balls off. But this ain't like Andy Ruiz, where he got clipped and just didn't manage to recover in the fight, and Andy Ruiz took advantage of that and put him away. You got soundly outboxed in a way that 6 months, whatever, you're not going to make that back up, especially when the other guy is then going to grow in confidence, is then going to have another heavyweight fight under his belt and going to gain from that. Eddie Hearn's face said it all. He was walking out of the arena and someone shouted something at him, and he turned around and you can see the temper in his face, and that's pressure. And that's the reality hitting him of, fuck. It's going to be hard for that lot, you know what I mean? Like, AJ didn't do what he did against Ruiz afterwards, where he was hugging and all. He was gone. I think that's because it's bitter, this one. Because this one ain't one you can just run back and change. Like, this was serious. This was a pure lesson in boxing. A fucking lesson. And when Eddie Hearn did give that interview to IFL, I think he knows. I think he knows it's gone. Credit to AJ, though. It's been an unbelievable title reign. He's been a great champion. But now, in my opinion, the only hope for the UK of having an undisputed king is Tyson Fury. And by the way, any of you lot who still think AJ would do all right against Tyson Fury or win against Tyson Fury, everything that you've seen in this fight, in my opinion, showed exactly why Tyson Fury, with his stamina and his IQ, wouldn't just do what Usyk did. I think he would have stopped them quite comfortably before the 10th round. When a guy like that can bamboozle you, add weight onto it, add power onto it, and to be fair, Usyk may be a slightly better boxer than Fury, but Fury, with his athleticism and with his skill gap, Anthony Joshua ain't beating either of those two. Not in this lifetime. It's not happening. That's just me speaking honestly. And I know I always trigger people because everyone has their favourite fighter, but come on now. Surely, even if you're the die-hard AJ fan, it was there. If you know boxing, you know it's there. And every true boxing expert that I've seen who isn't a friend of Anthony Joshua, and obviously they're going to have to, you know, watch what they say, they all said it. Some people questioning if there's even any point in a rematch because it was that dominant. Credit to both men. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Usyk develops from here, and a Usyk-Tyson Fury match would be unbelievable. That will be one of the most skillful, exciting, dynamic heavyweight boxing fights we've ever seen. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little chat. I thoroughly enjoyed the fight. Credit to both men. You know, I'm looking forward to the rematch. I'll still support AJ, but this is just my honest opinion. Don't forget to hit that like button, stay subscribed to True Geordie Extra, and I'll see you later.